Is it possible that an alien spacecraft flew above Stephenville, Texas in January of 2008? Before you decide for yourself, you should know that more than 200 witnesses all agree that it happened. After the incident, investigators from America's largest UFO network, MUFON, held a town hall meeting, and they couldn't believe the incredible turnout. Considering the hundreds of attendees, this could potentially be the single largest mass UFO sighting in history.
Hundreds of people that came as witnesses and other people just spectators, but lots of people had the same exact story that we had.
Over the course of 3 hours, the townspeople all shared similar stories of what they saw on the night of January 8th. Retired Air Force navigation specialist James Hughes was among those who spoke. He too had seen the lights in the sky, but never went public after facing ridicule from his coworkers.
I saw all these people who had seen the UFOs that were helping to back me up. And this was important because after being accused of lying about these UFOs and making this story up, to see all these other people who had seen these UFOs at night was really reassuring.
In addition to the hundreds of witnesses who gave their stories at the meeting, many more stayed home, fearing damage to their reputations. Today, some of them have finally decided to come forward.
I didn't go to that meeting that they had in 2008 because I was scared. I was a kindergarten teacher at the time, and I didn't want the parents to think I was crazy. It was like this, a round thing, but it looked like it's sitting on the ground. And then it just disappeared, and my mother seemed to think that it was behind trees or clouds, and there weren't any.
I see these lights, they come in and then it's just and I thought, wow, that's not common.
I definitely believe it was something from out of this world. I've seen jets break the sound barrier, and that'll cause some ruckus. I've seen airplanes pretty high up, little bitty airplanes pretty high up, and you can hear them very loudly. The way that first craft took off, I've never seen anything go that fast and not make any noise.
It's clear that something large and unknown flew above Stephenville that night. The question is, what was it? And could it possibly be alien in nature?
The Air Force does a lot of training out in the area, because countryside, so we're used to seeing a lot of jets, helicopters, and everything like that, but to this day, I have no idea what I saw, and I have no idea what made the light that I saw that night.
I was accused of fabricating this story, but I did not. It just made me more determined to prove that this story was real.
After his time in the Air Force, James had a career as an electronics technician, and he was confident he could find proof of the Stephenville encounter.
When something is spotted on radar, everything in the sky has a transponder number that is above a particular altitude.
In other words, the raw radar data from the night of the incident should hold all the proof of what happened that night.
So I demanded that they get the radar records, look at them, and see that I was telling the truth.
Unfortunately, the military refused to release the uncensored flight logs from its planes. It also claimed to have lost the radar records from January 8th.
Unfortunately, the Air Force declined to give us the information that we needed to prove that the UFOs were here. It does seem that the UFOs here were being covered up.
The mystery of the Bermuda Triangle may finally be close to being solved. Experts have theorized that the area's high concentration of magnetite could be causing interference with the Earth's magnetic field, leading to weather anomalies, dangerous algae growth, and problems with navigation. If that's the case, then the issue lies much deeper than the ocean floor. It lies at the very core of our planet. And according to geophysics professor Dr. Justin Revenaugh, a potentially catastrophic magnetic shift is happening there, right now.
My interest in the Earth's magnetic field began when I was in college. Because of a big solar storm, the northern lights moved further down from the poles than usual. And I thought it was amazing, and as a result, I've kept tabs on the magnetic field through the rest of my life. And what it's doing right now is unusual.
What it's doing is moving, and it might be taking the Bermuda Triangle right along with it.
So here we're looking down on the north pole of the planet. Geographic north lies right there. And shown in the colored dots are the position of magnetic north over time. We start down here in 1900, moving steadily northward slowly until about 1990, at which point it started moving much more quickly. At the present day, it's moving at a rate of 35 miles per year to the north and west. And if that motion continues, it'll cross the Arctic Ocean and work its way into Russia.
The question is, if the Bermuda Triangle features a deadly magnetic anomaly, how might it be impacted by the planet's magnetic shift?
The average person has no idea that magnetic north is moving. Why should they? You can't see it, you don't feel it, but it affects the navigation of ships and airplanes.
It's a problem that sounds a lot like what could be happening in the Bermuda Triangle, except now, it's beginning to occur on a global scale.
These changes are requiring us to update maps and software to accommodate the shifts in the poles that are necessary to make sure that GPS and compass-based navigation continues to be accurate.
But according to Dr. Revenaugh, there could be even greater consequences for life on Earth.
The Earth's magnetic field acts like a force field. If you think about the Star Trek USS Enterprise, when they would be shot by lasers and photon weapons would be deflected away from the spacecraft. Star Trek didn't pull this out of thin air. Our planet's magnetic field is protecting us from space weather, solar radiation, solar winds. If they reached the Earth in full numbers, they could shut down electrical grids, gas and oil pipelines, cellular and satellite communication, television, aircraft flights, and potentially other things that we haven't even thought about. It won't happen overnight, but we are seeing signs that it could happen rather soon.
Scholars like Dr. Revenaugh are currently trying to identify all of the issues that a magnetic shift could cause. After that, they'll still need to convince governments, private companies, and engineers to shore up our infrastructure before it's too late. As for the Bermuda Triangle, if it is moving northwest as we proposed, thankfully, it remains an isolated area, just 500,000 square miles on the surface of a nearly 200 million square mile planet. But if we don't plan for the future, the entire world may one day become a Bermuda Triangle, a place where safe navigation of the seas and skies can no longer be possible. The search continues. This is the island of Stronsa. Located due north of Inverness, it's a quiet and peaceful place for a seaside getaway. But as zoologist Jeff Swinney will tell us, on a summer day in 1808, visitors were met with a terrifying sight.
A fishing boat noticed something unusual. Their attention was drawn to it by the screaming gulls that had gathered around this carcass, which had been washed onto some rocks. It was big, it was smelly. This was nothing like anything they'd seen before.
The fisherman who had discovered the carcass, a man by the name of John Peace, approached it with a group of locals. The island dwellers were familiar with the occasional beach whale or shark carcass that could wash up on the Stronsa shores. But this was something very different and very, very big.
What they found on the beach was an animal with a relatively small head, only about a foot long, and then a body which extended 55 feet. And they measured this, so we know that the measurement was accurate. About a quarter of the length of this appeared to be neck, made up of vertebrae, and then the rest of the vertebral column going off tail. There appeared to be 3 pairs of legs, and the whole body was covered in what appeared to be matted fur with a mane of fur running down the back of the body. This must have been an extraordinary sight. Imagine this is what they would have seen. Must have been absolutely terrifying, disturbing. This huge 55-foot long, mysterious 6-legged, hairy animal just lying there on the beach. These were not just a new species, this was a new species of megafauna. This was a big animal. This was a sea monster.
It was dubbed the Stronsa beast, and news of the discovery began to spread.
News spread fairly rapidly worldwide that this sea monster had arrived on the shore. They convened a sort of tribunal with 2 local justices of the peace taking sworn affidavits from the local people who had seen this animal. The remains of the animal that are still in the museum consists of 3 vertebrae. I've had the opportunity of looking at the 3 vertebrae.
After analyzing the remains, Jeff concluded that the Stronsa beast shared many similarities with our potential profile of the Loch Ness Monster, including a long, narrow shape, flippers on its abdomen, and of course, its massive size. This is the first physical evidence of a possible Loch Ness Monster-type creature in Scotland. Not a blurry photo or a fleeting sighting, but actual remains of a species that must have roamed the area's waters at some point.
There are myths, stories, legends associated with many large bodies of water all over the world. Stories of unknown animals. Loch Ness in particular. It would, of course, be really exciting if we had some material evidence of a new animal, a bit of megafauna, a large animal, a sea monster. And until we have something to actually examine, I keep an open mind.
Could the Stronsa beast actually be the same species as the creature long identified as the Loch Ness Monster? The resemblance is uncanny, as is the timing. In 1808, the year the Stronsa beast was discovered, there were alleged sightings of similar creatures in Loch Ness and in Sweden's Storsjön Lake. Is this just a coincidence, or were several of these unknown animals migrating through Northern Europe? Despite thousands of sightings and near constant speculation about the Loch Ness Monster, there's still very little agreement about its features or where it might be found. It's a problem that's been frustrating Nessie hunters for decades.
We're not spending all this time and money trying to prove that there's a large unidentified species in Loch Ness. We know that. We've seen it, and we know it's here. What we are trying to do now is identify the species.
Today, a brand new profile is emerging, which once complete, could help us finally find the beast. But while most researchers have focused their efforts within the Scottish Highlands, they're ignoring a key data source. Because as it turns out, this unknown species might have a long-lost twin outside the loch. In the 17th century, a similar creature began appearing here in northern Sweden's Storsjön Lake. The Swedes call it the Great Lake Monster. In the eastern town of Östersund, archaeologist Anders Hansson has been studying the Great Lake Monster for years and believes there is a definite link to Loch Ness.
We know that people have always been seeing strange things in big waters, and this is part of the Western and Norwegian tradition, and even up to Scotland, that we have these sea serpents.
There have been rumors of an unknown underwater species in Storsjön as far back as the 11th century, not long after rumors of Nessie began. One early description was even recorded on a Viking relic called the Frøso runestone that has stood in Östersund since 1050.
And as you can see, it's got this great serpent, this dragon on it. And this is what is said to be the first picture and story about the Great Lake Monster.
A similar timeline isn't the only thing these two creatures share. Both Loch Ness and Storsjön are cold freshwater lakes, and both feed directly into the same common body of water, the North Sea. In other words, a migratory aquatic species could swim between both lakes. Physical accounts of the Swedish monster also line up with alleged Nessie sightings.
People out fishing, seeing something in the lake. Sometimes it's 3 meters, sometimes it's 15 meters long.
Almost all the witnesses describe the monster with a long sea serpent-like body and the head of a dog or a horse.
Some of them are quite dramatic, talking about the speed of the monster and how the mouth of it was so big that you could put down, your whole head in the mouth of the monster.
So what do we have here? Two similar creatures spotted along similar timelines, both in large, cold, northern freshwater lakes. And what's more, these two lakes are directly linked via the North Sea. If the Swedish and Scottish monsters are related, or even the same species, it raises a frightening possibility. Perhaps the Loch Ness monster isn't trapped in the loch at all.